Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar. My name is Konstantina and I'm a product manager in Miltenyi Biotec, specialized in cell separation. Today we will learn together how to choose your cell separation technology with confidence. The webinar today is divided in two parts. The first one is presented by myself and I will introduce our cell separation core technology, the MAX technology. The second part is presented by my colleague Eleonora, and she will familiarize you with the Automax Neo separator, our new instrument launched in February 2023. So, I have one question for you. What do you think a launderer, a chef, an electrician, and a Formula One driver have in common? They are all responsible for their outcome. Whether it is perfectly clean clothes or a beautiful meal in a Michelin restaurant, they are all responsible for the outcome of their work, and if you think about it, you are also responsible for the outcome of your experiments. Because those little details that you guys are tweaking in the lab make a difference. The outcome depends on the little details. If you limit the control and the options of your experiments, the outcome will always be the same because you cannot do those tweaks, those changes to make your work better. Let's take the excellent chef of the Michelin restaurant for an example. If we just give them a pot and a spoon, can they get to their usual 10-course menu? I'm sure they will do a great job, but they will be severely limited because they do not have the necessary tools. If we focus only on the lab, what will happen if we only have one cell culture media? Let's say it's a culture media for cell expansion. You can't add anything to it, you can't take anything out of it. Can you do all your experiments with this media? What's going to happen with your killing assays and how will you activate your cells? You will be severely limited in the lab in what you can do because you cannot do those changes that make a difference for your research. On the other hand, if you have the full range of media and full range of things that you can add to your media, you can now do any experiment you want and you can change, tweak, and optimize your cell culture to get the best expansions, activations, and killing assays. You need this flexibility and you need this control. Let's have a look at the chef since we are talking about the flexibility. How can the chef cater all these type of dinners? Romantic dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, cheat day meal, with only the tools I mentioned before, the spoon and the pot. It's not possible. You require the flexibility to regain the control of the situation. What he needs is a set of tools that offer all the possibilities and open up new horizons. Once you get these tools, you can now cater to all the different events optimally with the best results. So we can agree that stellar results require fine control. Here's a couple of scientists, Boris, Christoph, and Caroline, and they all have different requirements because they're doing different tests. Even though they all want to isolate the same type of cell, they all have different needs and they need to be catered in a different manner. Boris, for his NGS assays, is looking for highly pure cells and he doesn't want to waste reagents. Christoph wants to have every single cell of interest because they're rare cells and he is suffering having to do many experiments. Caroline wants to get rid of unwanted cells that interfere with her analysis. If we have a look at them, they have different needs because they are doing different assays. Boris is doing NGS, which is pretty expensive, and of course he wants to save on reagents. Christoph is doing cell sorting, so it does not matter for him if the purity is low, because he will then sort for the specific cell he wants. And Caroline is doing cell culture, so those unwanted cells are definitely giving some background noise. Different assays have different prerequisites for the cells that you're isolating. And even though all these three people, why they want to isolate CD4 T cells, they all still have different needs and they need to be catered in a different manner. Let's have a look at different assays. NGS, metabolomics, cell cultures. Different assays will have different requirements. With our microbits, we can cater to all those different needs, but we need flexibility in our isolation so we can open up our possibilities and cater to all the different needs. And this is where the column comes in. The column provides the flexibility needed for one microbit kit to cater to all the different needs. The column allows you to control the flow rate, whether it is by using different manual columns or by changing the fluidic speed on the automated system. The column is what gives you back the control. So selecting the right tools make all the difference. Our customers already did that, so let's check how their experiments came out. As I said, they optimized their isolations, and Boris, who is working with NGS now, is pretty happy because he got very high purity of the cells of interest. Therefore, he can spend less money on reagents. Christoph was looking for maximum recovery for his cell sorting, and he now does not have to repeat the experiments because he finally has all the cells he needs. And Caroline finally has less background noise because she got rid of all those cells which were giving out those signals. These are some examples of what can happen with your research if you really optimize your cell isolations. And if you really can control how you separate your cells, you can control the conditions of your cells before your important assays like NGS and cell sorting. And here is where the column comes in play. The columns are giving you all this control that you are seeking to unlock the full potential of your cells. So let's have a look at how Max technology works so we can understand why the column is so important. The first pillar of our technology are the microbits. They are coupled with antigen-specific antibodies, and thus they will be highly specific for our target cells. We are going to add the microbits into the sample, and they're going to be labeling the cells specifically. The second pillar of our technology is the column. The column is made up of spheres that will amplify a magnetic field when exposed to one. Thus, we come to the third element of the technology, which is the magnetic separator. The magnetic separator provides the magnetic field, which will be amplified by the column and can be used to separate our cells of interest. The labeled cells of interest will remain in the column, and as you can see, the inside the column is very gentle to the cells as they have a lot of space in between the magnetic spheres, while the cells which are not labeled will be going through the column with the flow through. Finally, the cells of interest which were labeled and retained in the column, when we take the magnetic field out and lose the magnetic field inside the column, we can plunge the column and collect the cells. So, microbits, columns, and magnetic separators. How do we choose which ones to use? Let's start with the microbits. First element we should decide on are the microbits. What do you need to know to decide which microbit will fit you best? The first thing you need to consider is what type of sample you have. Are you working with PBMCs or single-cell suspensions? Or, on the other hand, are you working with blood samples like whole blood, buffycoats, or leukoplaques? Second important thing is you need to decide if you want to work with positive or negative selections. During positive selection, you will be labeling your target cells. The cells you're interested in will specifically be labeled with our microbits, while the cells you are not interested remain unlabeled. This will happen both from the samples from PBMCs and blood products. For negative selection, you are going to be labeling the non-target cells, the cells you don't want. Therefore, the cells of interest are going to be untouched. It is important to mention that when we talk about the microbit from blood products, there are microbit kits that will allow you to skip the density gradient centrifugation, and therefore you are working directly with the blood sample, skipping that step. The second element of our technology are the columns. So, why are we using the columns? As we mentioned before, they amplify the magnetic field. But what does this mean for you? This means that the cells that you're interested in, and you're labeling them, will have minimal labeling and thus free epitopes for further downstream assays like flow cytometry and cell sorting. As I mentioned before, the cells have plenty of space within the column, so the columns are very gentle and will not activate your cells of interest. The columns give you the control that you require to fine-tune your experiments through the flow rate control. This really gives you all the possibilities to also standardize your work. If you start with the same settings, you will get consistent results. And finally, as you can see, is FDA approved. Several kits from our clinical portfolio, which can be used in clinical settings, are FDA approved. And now, let's see the advantages of the column solution compared to the column-free solution. Column-free solutions have strong magnetic fields on the edges, but very significantly weaker in the center. This means that the cells need to be over-labeled so you can get rid of them. This also means that you will put so many antibodies that may lead to unspecific binding of the cells of interest. Therefore, they're not fully untouched in some cases. You also don't have a control over your results because you cannot really optimize the process. You're pouring down and you cannot optimize how you're pouring. And finally, this method has a reduced reproducibility and cannot really be standardized among different users because simply different people will perform the isolation in different manners. Now let's see how the different flow rates influence the cell isolations. As we can see in the video, we have different types of rates: slow flow rate, medium, and fast flow rate. The slower the flow rate, with this we increase the retention of labeled cells, but some unlabeled cells may also be retained in the columns. With faster flow rates, we reduce the retention of the labeled cells in the column, but here also some weakly labeled cells may not be retained. And remember, with manual isolation, we control the flow rate by using different types of columns, while with automated solutions, we change the speed of the fluidics to control the flow rate. Now we come to the final element of MAX technology, the magnetic separators. As we learned by now, the columns are the heart of our technology. The columns, together with the magnetic separator, influence the cell separation and fine-tune the outcomes of your experiments. Remember, with manual isolations, we control the flow rate by using different types of columns, and with automated isolations, we change the speed of the fluidics to control the flow rate. And we offer you several options, from manual to semi-automated and fully automated solutions. For manual separation, we have manual separators which can process up to 8 samples in parallel. We also have Multimax 24, which is a semi-automated instrument which can process up to 24 samples in parallel. We also have our new Automax Neo, which is fully automated and can process up to 6 samples in one run. We also have the Multimax X, which is a high-throughput cell separation instrument intended for laboratories which require fully automated processing of high sample numbers. We also have our Clinimax Prodigy and Prodigy Plus, who are fully automated and FDA approved for clinical use. One is certain that whatever solution you choose, it will ensure a gentle flow of cells without pressure, sticking, or compression. In consequence, cell integrity and characteristics are preserved, and the cells are fully functional for your downstream applications. Now, since we learned how to choose the right tools for your assays, I want to highlight one of our newest instruments for automated cell separation, the Automax Neo. My colleague Eleonora will take you to the world of Automax and show you all the different possibilities that this instrument can offer.
Thank you, Tina, and welcome everyone also from my side. I'm Eleonora Naimo, and during these next few minutes, I will introduce the Automax Neo separator, the last member of the Automax family, available from February 2023. The cell separation portfolio offers a variety of solutions for every need, starting from low throughput using the manual columns to an increasing number of samples with the Automax Neo separator, the Multimax 24 and the Multimax 6. Automation is the highest value that our instrument can offer. Automation improves efficiency, guarantees standardization and reproducibility of the protocols. It gives free time that the operator can spend in other tasks while the instrument is performing the separation. Automation reduces the risk of sample contamination and employees' exposure to dangerous pathogens. In a simple sentence, automation gives you the possibility to focus your time and energy where it matters. The Automax Neo separator is a benchtop magnetic cell separator that allows for fully automated cell labeling and isolation with various separation strategies. The specific reagents and preset programs simplify and standardize the cell isolation process. The Automax Neo separator has several specific components that cooperate together for a perfect automated separation of your target cells. Let's go more in details to understand the specific function of each piece of this amazing engine. At the heart of the instrument is a robotic needle arm, which can pipette reagents into your samples, mix them carefully, and take them up into the instrument. The Automax Neo is further equipped with a sensor able to detect the liquid level, which will always inform you when your buffer bottles need to be exchanged or when your waste is full. The instrument monitors the column's status as well. The Automax Neo is compatible with the 3 types of max chill racks to hold different size and numbers of sample tubes, 5, 15 and 50 ml tubes. The new Max reagent rack can now hold up to 8 reagents to automatically label your samples. Moreover, the barcode scanner can automatically detect the lot number and the expiration date reported into the vials, preventing the use of expired reagents. An essential Automax Neo component is the Automax column. The columns are compatible with many starting materials, reagents, and isolation strategies. They can be reused up to 14 days, reducing the cost for each isolation. Moreover, the instrument is automatically performing the stage loading to guarantee the most efficient sample processing. The Automax Neo allows cell separation from several starting material like PBMC, dissociated tissue, whole blood, bone marrow, and buffy coat, because it's compatible with a huge variety of Miltenyi products for human and rodent samples. Moreover, the Neo is equipped with a 10 inches touch screen that allows intuitive operation in the user interface. The instrument supports a new intuitive and intelligent software that simplify the daily lab work. Let's explore more in detail how easy it is to plan and run one experiment on our Automax Neo. The Automax Neo comes with a user management system. This feature guarantees a dedicated account for every user. In each profile, the last used reagents are saved, which is very convenient for experiment setup. The task planner simplifies the lab schedules because every user can book the instrument at the desired time. Moreover, it is possible to plan an automatic wake up and sleep of the instrument, so you don't have to take time for maintenance. What the Neo user loved the most is the full overview given on the right side of the screen, showing the liquid levels, column age, and additionally the notification system. This helps the user to always have a status update about their experiment and buffer levels, as well as a step-by-step guidance whenever an action is needed. Brand new is also the run report. It tracks everything from sample volume to lot number of your reagent. Thereby, it is a great support for everyone who wants to carefully document their experiment. Another highlight are the experiment templates. Especially in multi-user labs, this feature supports the standardization of your workflow to achieve the most reproducible result. The biggest novelty that an Automax Neo separator offers are the optimized reagent-specific programs to increase purity, recovery, and speed. The advanced programs give you the flexibility to further adjust your experiment success. Let's go more in deep in this specific Automax Neo new feature that gives the instrument the maximum flexibility and to each user the opportunity to optimize all kinds of separation. With Tina, in the first part of our webinar, we learned about the different needs of Boris for his NGS application, Christophe for cell sorting, and Caroline for cell culture. Let's go now a bit more in detail of the separation strategy we can select according to our specific needs. When we use a manual column, we can't control the flow rate because it's dictated by gravity. The medium flow rate speed might achieve the best balance between purity and recovery. But in some experiments, we might need to modify the flow rate speed to achieve the best results. For instance, if we reduce the flow rate, we can increase the retention of labeled cells, and at the same time, some unlabeled cells might be retained into the column as well. On the other hand, if we increase the flow rate speed, we reduce the retention of labeled cells, and some of the weakly labeled cells might flow out of the column. Now, you can optimize the separation strategy, adjusting the flow rate to the final goal of your experiment. If you perform a positive selection in which the labeled cells are the target cells, high flow rate increase the purity and low flow rate increase the recovery. On the other hand, if you perform a negative selection in which the unlabeled cells are the target cells, low flow rate increases the purity and the high flow rate increases the recovery. Does it sound complicated? No worries, the instrument automatically suggests the best flow rate for the selected program. To better clarify this concept, we show some data obtained with our Automax Neo. On the left graph, one example of positive selection using our CD3 microbits kit. While increasing the flow rate from right to left, we can clearly see that the purity is increasing. Highlighted in the blue box is shown the best flow rate that the instrument can offer to achieve the highest purity. Instead, if we lower the flow rate, we can increase the recovery of our target cells. Also, in this case, the best value is highlighted in the blue box. On the right graph, we have one example of negative selection with our PAN T-cell isolation kit. In this case, a lower flow rate increases the purity and a higher one the recovery. In both graphs, the best flow rate is pointed out by the blue box. Now, on the Automax Neo, you can optimize your flow rate, finding the best solution for your cell separation according to your further application. Let's summarize now the strengths and values that an Automax Neo brings to your lab. The instrument is fully automated. Using the auto-labeling protocol, it is possible to process up to 6 samples per run, avoiding user's error. The real-time monitoring of buffers and waste level ensures smooth separation and gives the user the freedom to leave the instrument. In addition, the stage loading function brings an increased throughput, precious to process bigger sample volumes. In addition, the Automax Neo supports the Automax column, compatible with a big variety of reagents and starting material from human or mouse. The reusable Automax columns allow the user who are performing several separations to cut the cost and to optimize the reagent use. The biggest novelty of the Automax Neo is the intuitive and intelligent software with a completely new user interface, very user-friendly, supported by a bigger touch screen. The new software offers the possibility to set a fully automated wake-up and sleep of the instrument, according to the laboratory routine. At the end of each experiment, a run report can be exported as a PDF to document in a standardized way each process performed in the instrument. We also guarantee 24/7 telephonic support through our service support. We are coming to the end of our webinar and we hope you enjoyed the time with us and you got familiar with our fabulous new instrument, the Automax Neo. But remember that our portfolio includes also other options that might fit better to your needs. We have the fully automated Multimax X and the semi-automated Multimax 24. Do not hesitate to contact us to have further details about the option we can offer. So, the takeaway message from our webinar is that the right tools make all the difference. Now you have the choice if you are in the chef situation with limited tools and struggle to achieve your goals, or being the one with the right tools and finally achieve the stellar results you can aim for. After our webinar, we hope that you can select the right tools to unlock the full potential of your cell. Thanks for your attention, and now we are open to your questions.
Thanks so much to Eleonora and Konstantina. That was a great overview of these useful tools and their applications. We're now going to move on to the Q&A session. I have a question regarding the flow rates. You have mentioned that the flow rates influence the purity and recovery of the cell separation. The question is, how do we optimize the flow rate with the manual isolation approach?
Hi, so this is a very interesting question, and I'm glad that you asked. So basically, with manual isolation, you cannot control the flow rate directly, but our protocols are already optimized to control the flow rate by using different types of columns. And as you saw in the presentation, we have MS, LS, LD, whole blood columns. But on the other hand, with automated solution, we change the speed of the fluidics to control the flow rate. And this is how we provide the solution for every need and every application.
Thanks so much, Konstantina. Second question here from a PhD student. Thanks for the presentation. I have a question regarding the columns. Are the manual columns intended for single use?
Yeah, so basically all the manual columns are for single separations. However, the only reusable column is the Automax column, which is for automatic separation. And this column goes for 14 days or 100 separations.
Thanks so much. Another question here. In our lab, we use a lot of Miltenyi products, and I wondered if there are straight-for products for tissues, and if yes, which ones?
So basically, our straight-from products are divided into human and mouse portfolios, and the straight-from human line is for blood products such as whole blood, leukopax, buffy coats, while the straight-from mouse line includes the straight-from spleen products. So basically, for now, it's only the spleen.
Thanks so much. A question here. In our lab, we're considering automation solutions because we have increased workload, and for us, the time is really precious. My question is, how many samples can an Automax Neo process?
I will take this. Thanks for your question. So the Automax Neo can process up to 6 samples in a row. You can plan your experiment and set all the needed reagents and samples and start the run. And after that, the instrument will process your sample automatically, one after another.
Thanks so much, Eleonora. A few more questions in here. I'd like to understand more about the auto-labeling function. You mentioned it in one of the Automax slides. Thank you.
So the auto-labeling function means that the Automax Neo is performing the labeling of your cells and also the separation. You have also the option to label your cells manually and then load the instrument for the separation. The auto-labeling function is giving you the possibility to have a fully automated process. But in our datasheet, you can find both protocols for manual and auto-labeling. So then in the end, it's up to you to decide the strategy you want to use.
Brilliant, thank you. A question here from someone who is familiar with your products, but usually starts with PBMCs. However, they're asking, I'll start using whole blood as a material for donor screening. So there's 2 questions coming from that. I'll give you the first one. Is there a possibility that the column would clog while loading the sample on the column?
So interesting question. In our portfolio, we have a specific whole blood column that is designed for cell separation from whole blood directly. But if you still have a very dense and sticky sample, you can always pre-filter it and then load into the column the filtered sample.
Great, and thank you so much. A second question here on the same topic. What kind of separation would you recommend for this person who's using whole blood, manual or automated?
That's a good question that has not a black and white answer. It depends from several parameters. For example, how many samples do you have per time? And for example, if you have a few samples, then you can do manual separation using the whole blood columns. Or if you go to an automated approach, you can use our instruments. You have two options, for example. You can use the semi-automated Multimax 24 or the fully automated Automax Neo that we presented today.
Thanks so much. A question here from someone who's got a bit of experience. I've been using the Automax Pro for 4 years now. In one of your slides, you mentioned that the new feature of Automax Neo is stage loading. Can you go a bit more into what stage loading means?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So thanks for being our fan of the Automax Pro since 4 years. And the stage loading function is an integrated function that the Automax Neo offer, and it is based on column capacity. For instance, once you plan the instrument, the software already calculate how many stages the instrument has to perform to process the full sample according to the column capacity. This function allows you to process bigger samples by loading the column several times, but is completely automated in the instrument. So don't worry, you don't need to do any specific or difficult calculation for it.
Great. Thank you so much, folks. I do think that's all the time we're going to have for questions today, sadly. Just to remind everyone, though, if you have asked a question and you haven't received a response, we'll make sure you get a response offline as soon as possible. And if you're watching this webinar on demand, you can continue to ask questions. Again, all that's left for me to say is a big thanks to our speakers and to all of our attendees today. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.